Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you day 15 of the Halloween movie review series, and today I'm going to be doing Saw 3, and I'm just going to get right into it. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought everything was done pretty much perfectly. I think this has been my favorite one out of the two series so far, but I'm just going to start it right off. So this movie was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and it was produced by Mark Berg, Greg Hoffman, and Orrin Coles. And it's obviously based off the story of James Wayne and Lee Wainell, and the movie itself is distributed by Lionsgate Films, and it was released on October 27th, 2006, and ironically enough, I actually found out some information. So, originally there was going to be a third one made. Originally, Lee Wainell and James Wayne originally didn't want any part of this. But Greg Hoffman ended up passing away before this movie was made, and they knew the movie was going to get made with or without them involved. So they pretty much decided to jump right in, and they decided to make this movie in memory of him. I thought that was actually pretty interesting, and I'm not really gonna say anything else that happens because I'm gonna talk about that when I review the movie. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna review the movie itself. So the movie kicks off. It shows Eric Matthews, and he's been it's more of a continuation of the second film, where it shows Eric Matthews and he's chained up to a pipe like he was in the second movie, and he's locked into the bathroom, and he tries to go for his gun, but he sees that his bullets have been taken, and then he realizes he pretty much has to cut his foot off to get himself loose, and he just can't bring himself to do it. So he takes the top of a toilet and he smashes his foot, and he gets himself free. Then we don't see anything else that happens. We see more on it later, but we don't see anything else that happens. And I actually like the way this looked, where Eric Matthews ended up just smashing his foot. I thought it looked awesome. And then next we see Lieutenant Daniel Riggs and his team. They had to break down a door into a school classroom and pretty much they see the scenes of a Saw game that had just taken place, of one of Jigsaw's games. So they call in Detective Mark Hoffman and Detective Allison Carey, and I actually like this scene a lot. It kind of showed the scene, and they discussed what was going on, and then they actually showed it. So, for example, Hoffman was talking about how now I'm thinking Hoffman was, I don't know if Hoffman was introduced as a character because he becomes a much more important character later on in the franchise. I don't know if he was brought in because of the death of Greg Hoffman, or if that was just a coincidence. I have no idea. I'm assuming it had to have been because of that. So yeah, pretty much but Hoffman revealed that this guy was chained and was had all these chains just strapped to him, and he had to get himself free, and it actually shows us that scene, and I liked it. So I'm just going to talk about the game itself. We meet this guy. His name is I don't remember his name is Troy, and pretty much he's had everything that he could have ever wanted, but he's always found himself in prison. So pretty much he has to break these chains off his skin, and they're like deep in his skin, and they're everywhere. It's in his mouth, it's on his shoulders, it's in his hands, and he's strapped to a bomb pretty much, and he has to get out of these chains and exit the room so that way before the bomb goes off. And obviously he failed because we see his corpse all blown up. Carrie originally thought that this was going to be Detective Matthews, but finds out that it actually wasn't Detective Matthews. And then Carrie's pretty much feeling guilty about everything that happened in Saw 2. She feels guilty that Detective Matthews disappeared, and Lieutenant Riggs tells her not to feel guilty about that. He says that you should be putting all your anger towards Jigsaw, and Riggs figures out how Jigsaw could have done all that since he was on his deathbed the last time that they saw him. And Allison figures out that Jigsaw probably didn't do it. He probably had somebody else do it, and she wonders why they had to break down the door if the whole purpose of the game was he had to escape. And even if he had gotten himself free from these chains, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Yeah, they all find that suspicious, and I actually found that suspicious myself when I had originally seen this, but there's more reasons of why that happens later on. So then it shows Detective Allison Carey back at her house. She's watching the tape, because coincidentally the tape didn't get destroyed. So she's watching the tape of Troy's game, and it actually cuts on her TV to a live video footage of a video that's being taken through her closet, and she thinks somebody's in the closet, so she goes for a gun and shoots down the door, but nobody shows up. And when she goes in there to try to see who it is, she gets attacked by somebody. We're supposed to assume that it was either Jigsaw or Amanda, and she has to play a game herself. She talks about how she always tries to save everybody else's life, the reason why she's there, but yet she feels like that she's more of a cold, dead person than she actually is. And what she has to do is she's strapped to a harness that's just injected right into a rib cage, and she has to get this key that's in acid before the timer goes off, and she has to unlock the harness. So she does it. She actually reaches in for the acid. I thought it looked pretty cool, and she gets the key. She unlocks it, but she still dies anyways. So we're supposed to feel suspicious that why is Jigsaw's games not working? Why are they actually used to kill his victims, considering the fact that Carrie did exactly what she was supposed to do, and she succeeded in the game, but yet still died anyways. So we find out more on that later. Then it cuts to we meet hold on, I'm just trying to find her name. We meet what the hell is her name? I just had it a second ago. We meet nurse Lynn Denlin, and she's an ER doctor. And she's her life pretty much sucks as well. And she's absolutely depressed, and her marriage isn't going very well. Her husband tells her that he wants a divorce, and she gets called into work, and we meet a kid, and he was being taken to the ER. It looked like he had just been in a wreck, and Nurse Denlin tries to save him, but she's unable to. So then later on in the day, she's leaving from work, and she gets locked into the locker room, and then she tries to call to get out, and she gets attacked by Amanda and drugged, and she gets taken to Jigsaw's laboratory, and she's tied up to a wheelchair, and Jigsaw brings her in, and we find out that Jigsaw doesn't have a lot of time to live. He looks in worse condition than he did in the last movie, and she's been in a hospital before. He actually remembers who she is, and she shows him his file of him saying he has a brain tumor, and he asks her how much longer she thinks she has to live, and she uses a lot of this medical jargon that people would say, and he's not having any of that, so he doesn't really want to hear it. So the goal that she has to do is she has to keep him alive. He says that he wants to play a game, and the game is you have to keep somebody alive. Can you do that? And that was the exact quote, and that quote gets used later on. So what she has to do is she has to make sure that his heart rate doesn't that he has a heart rate meter, and he has to make sure that it doesn't reach 0. And if it does, there's a collar that's strapped to her neck that will cause her to explode if because it's pretty much as if like there's a shotgun strapped to it, because there's a bunch of bullets in there, and she will die if he can't keep her alive. And also she has to keep him alive. There's somebody else that has to go through a series of tests and leave, and if he fails, and she has to do it, she has to keep him alive and during that amount of time. So then we meet the other person, and we meet Jeff, and he's trapped in a box on a forklift, and he's trying to get out, and we find out that he actually had lost his I think he finds one of Jigsaw's tape recordings, and we find out that he plays the recording, and we find out that he lost his son. He ended up getting hit by a car, and the person that ended up killing him only got a 6-month sentence, and he feels like that he should have got longer, and he wants to get pretty much vengeance on everybody that was involved in that case, especially the person that hit his son. I mean, his son's name was Dylan, and pretty much he's mourned the loss of Dylan, and he's also pretty much just been living vengeance. He wants to kill the guy that killed his son. So it shows a flashback of it. He actually still has his son's room all set up, and his daughter went to sleep with one of his stuffed animals, and he was not very happy about that, so she has him give it back, and he has like a setup for it of all his memorabilia, and we're supposed to assume that the mother's dead as well, but there's more on that later. So I'm just gonna say one of the tests now. Jeff walks through he's in like an old meat storage, and he walks through the room, and he finds a key to the door, and he also finds and that says don't be afraid to open the door, and he goes into a freezer, and he sees a woman that's stripped down naked, that's chained to the that's chained, and we find out that her name was Danisha Scott. I don't know how to say her name, but she actually was a witness to this death, and actually ran off because she was afraid. So she pretty much Jeff can he has a key. There's a key trapped in the pipes, and he can either save her life or just save his own life and unlock her. So at first Jeff just watches her freeze slowly, and he's just gonna watch her die since she didn't do anything when his son Dylan was hit. And she says, "I'm human. People make mistakes." So then he tries to save her. but then when he grabs the key, she sees that she's just frozen solid. So then he ends up escaping. Then meanwhile, back with Doctor Lynn Denlin, she has to perform an operation. She pretty much says that she can't really perform an operation on John Kramer because she doesn't have any of the supplies that a hospital would have. So Amanda says that she can get her the supplies, and her and Amanda don't really seem to be getting along. Amanda says, if you want to, you can just and then she is looking through John's tours, and she finds the trap that was the reverse bear trap that Amanda had to use in the first game, and that was used in the original first Saw in 2003. And then Dr. Denlin asks if she has all the tools, and she says yeah, and she has pretty much a small power saw, a drill, and some anesthetic and stuff like that. And Amanda says that it's just gonna save him, and she says, well, this is gonna these are just tools. It's not certain that it's gonna save her. And Amanda says that tools can do a lot. They can save a life. And then it shows a flashback of Jigsaw setting up the trap for Amanda. It actually shows him setting it up. It shows him putting the trap on her, and then writing the question mark on her boyfriend. And then it shows her escaping, and then Jigsaw taking her in to be a part of her work, and asking her to give everything to him, and she finds that she's been cutting herself, and to leave all that past marks behind her. And then we also find out that Amanda gives her the option to kill, gives Dr. Lynn the option to kill her. But the problem is, if she kills her, she's the only one that has the key to that trap, and if she goes too far away from range from John's heart meter, she will explode. So then they go to do the procedure, and as she's doing this procedure, we see that John is having a flashback of a girl that he knows. We were supposed to assume that it was his wife. We don't actually find out who this is in this movie. I'm not going to really say who it is. But pretty much John starts to his heart meter starts to go down, and Dr. Lin gets nervous. So then when he finally starts to come to, he says that I love you, because he's still having his flashback to his wife, but he actually was saying it to Dr. Lin, so this makes Amanda jealous. Then she goes into her room and cuts her leg. We find out that she has cut marks on her legs, and John doesn't know about this. And it shows a flashback of her having a nightmare of her not saving Adam, and she actually ended up she was the one that ended up kidnapping Adam when he putting him to the first game. Then it shows the scene when where they set up the first game of Saw, where Amanda brings in Adam, and we see Jigsaw actually paint the X, the glow in the dark X that they had in the first film, and him painting fake blood on the ground. And we found out the way that he was actually able to lay like that all along, and no one knew he was alive, is he put some sort of drug, I forget the name of it, in his system that would relax his muscles. I actually thought that was pretty cool. And we also saw Dr. Gordon laid out, and yeah, because she was having this nightmare, she goes and murders Adam. She takes like a plastic bag and smothers him with it. And the weird thing about this is then you see his dead corpse, obviously, in the second one. Somehow has become a conspiracy theory that Adam somehow survived Saw, because they make like a thing, like when he got shot in the shoulder, when it shows it, he didn't get shot in like the right shoulder. His ankle is in a different spot. It's just weird, but But people are really stupid, because if you watch this movie, you see that he gets smothered and choked. But yeah, people will believe anything when it comes to conspiracy theories. So yeah, but yeah, so it was weird. So then, what else happens next? So throughout this time too, John Kramer and Dr. Lynn is talking about how now she's grateful for her husband, and she would give anything to see him again, because we found out that they had been separated for a while. And Jigsaw says, and she also goes off on Jigsaw. She's begging him to let her go, and goes off. Sorry, Mike got disconnected again. I don't know why that keeps happening. It's happened for the past few videos I've done. I think it's just because the cord comes unplugged, but I made sure it was plugged in. But anyhow, as I was talking about, she talks about how Jigsaw just tortures people. He pretty much sentences them to their death. And then, by the way, this video probably isn't gonna get uploaded today now because that happened. Then it shows Jeff. He has to go through a second test. Throughout this time too, he gets pieces of a gun. He gets a bullet, and then I don't know the name of it, but but the compartment that you could put the bullets in, and then the gun itself. He gets that throughout this movie, and then he goes into a room and he meets the judge and he sees the judge handcuffed down, he was the judge that only gave the murderer that murdered his son 6-month sentence. So he has what Jeff has to do is, if he wants to save his life, he has to burn all of his son's possessions in a furnace, and within it he'll find the key, and he can save that guy. And we find out that the guy's name was Judge Howden, and Judge Howden says, that I can save your son, and I can save your son, and pretty much he tries to convince him to save him, because what happens is there's parts of this murdered pigs, and it gets put into a machine that cuts it all up, and it turns it into pig shit, and he'll pretty much die from it, because he's in a container that's gonna fill up with pig shit. So he's begging him to save his life, and he says that you'll be no different than the guy that murdered your son. So this causes Jeff to save him, and then later on, Judge Howden, tells Jeff that if you hold in vengeance for too long, it could lead to not a good thing. It could lead you to doing things that are gonna mess up your life. Foreshadowing right there. So then he actually finally meets the guy that murdered his son. We find out his name was I think it was Timothy something. What was his name? His name was Timothy. Yeah, his name was Timothy something. I don't know. Timothy Yun. And this was the guy that killed Dylan by accident. We actually found out that he was just a regular medical college student, and he actually regrets some of the decision that he made. Well, the fact that he accidentally killed his son, and he feels like that he should have been punished more for it. So Jeff has to pretty much save him. He has to go into a box that has that has a key that will set off a gun to go off and will shoot possibly Jeff. So Jeff at first is just gonna watch this guy die, and because he's waited for 3 years for him to die, and what he's in a rack attack, which is gonna twist his bodies, like his arms and stuff around, as far as it can go. It actually looked really awesome. So Jeff at first is just gonna watch him die, then eventually decides to grab the key, and this ends up shooting Judge Holden, and he dies. And Jeff was too late to save this guy, so He ended up dying, and Jeff is upset because he's like, I forgive you, and he says, and he starts cursing. So then this causes Jeff to want to go kill Jigsaw, and as this happens, Dr. Lynn tries to escape. She was going to go escape, but then she doesn't have the key to get out of the Jigsaw's laboratory. So then Amanda realizes that the key has been that the door's been open, and they get into a fight. And she was about to kill Amanda, but then she says that if you kill me, you won't be able to get your collar unlocked because I am the only one that has the key. So then she thinks that the key is hung around her neck. So she tries to get the key to get out or to unlock a collar. It's not the right key. So then she stops and she goes back into the room to see Jigsaw or John Kramer. And then we see Amanda later on. She reads a note that has a folder set up for her. And she reads it. And we don't really find out what the note is up until I think the 5th or 6th saw. I don't remember which one. Then Amanda, what happened next? Amanda goes into the room and she threatens to kill. Well, no, actually, throughout this time she keeps telling John Kramer that Jeff has made it through all these tests. So John tells her to let her go, but she refuses. She doesn't want to let her go. She doesn't think that she's worth anything, and she talks about how what Jigsaw does is all bullshit. Nobody changes from this stuff, and people, because nobody in the world changes. And she reveals that she set up her, Jigsaw's victims for murder. That's why when Troy's trap, it was set up for murder because he couldn't get out of the room. With Carrie's trap, same thing, and it shows her showing up there, and we find out that she actually had left Eric Matthews for dead. Eric Matthews had escaped from the bathroom, and Eric Matthews was limping on one, pretty much on his foot because his foot's smashed and destroyed. So he attacks Amanda, and Amanda, he pretty much kicks her ass, asking where Daniel is, and Amanda stomps her foot and leaves, and Eric tells her that she's worth nothing, and Jigsaw's pleading with her to spare Dr. Lynn's life because Dr. Lynn could possibly save his life. And as this happens, we see Jeff come in, and he has a gun ready to get revenge on Jigsaw. So then Amanda then shoots Dr. Lynn, and she falls in Jeff's arms, and they actually know each other. And then we're supposed to think, why do they know each other? And then he shoots Amanda through the right in the throat. And then we find out that this was actually Amanda's test. It was actually Amanda's game. She was actually supposed to have kept Dr. Lynn alive. He was testing her because she never trusted anyone's will to live, and he wanted to make sure that Amanda would be able to carry on his work when he died. And we actually found out that Amanda and Jeff actually were husband and wife, and not Amanda and Jeff, Dr. Lynn and Jeff were husband and wife, and he kept from Amanda that they were, so that way she would make her own choices. And he also kept and we also found out that the guy that Dr. Lynn was sleeping with earlier was actually just a boyfriend she was cheating on Jeff with, and she kept everything, and she wanted Amanda to make her choices, but she broke the rules, and this causes Amanda to die. So then Jigsaw gives Jeff one final chance to get away all his vengeance. He can either forgive Jigsaw and it would actually save his life, or he can extract his revenge on him. So instead, he cuts Jigsaw's throat with a power saw. Jigsaw dies, and it shows flashbacks of everything that we saw in this movie, then everything that Jigsaw has done. And then we see a tape recorder that Jigsaw that he needed to keep Jigsaw alive. Also, Amanda dies too since Jigsaw died. But he also needed to keep Jigsaw alive because he had because he was the only one that knew what Jeff's daughter was, and if she wanted to get her back, he would have to play a game, and she's in a room with only a limited amount of supply of air, and then it ends with Jeff screaming, and yeah, that was the end of the movie. And overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I liked some of the effects, like with or some of the camera work, like the effects of this movie, like Dr. Lin cutting into Jigsaw's brain, the way it looked when Timothy's body was just twisting. A lot of the effects looked very good in this movie. I liked the story of Jeff, how his vengeance actually hurt him, how he couldn't just forgive these people, and his vengeance ended up hurting him in the end, because since he killed Jigsaw, he just lost his wife, and now he can't find his daughter at all. I liked the story that they show with the relationship with Jigsaw and Amanda in this movie, and I just thought this movie was perfect. Pretty much everything had a purpose for happening in this movie, and it was nearly perfect. The only thing I really hated in this movie was the amount of flashbacks, because it was getting kind of confusing when you saw like a dream and a flashback, and then I thought the flashbacks were a little repetitive. Yes, they were doing it because it made purpose, but I thought the flashbacks kind of were a little bit over the top. And I kind of feel bad for Dr. Lin. Yes, she had her demon, her fuck up as well, but she was pretty much put in this game for no reason, pretty much. She was pretty much put in this game for, so that way Amanda would succeed, and that way, Jeff, wouldn't kill Jigsaw. So she pretty much died for no reason. You could technically say, like, she had to overcome some stuff in her life as well, but it kind of sucked for Amanda. But yeah, and overall, and Jigsaw dying too, that was a huge one. I think we kind of knew it was coming. We knew that he was on his deathbed in this movie anyways. But yeah, when I had first heard that there was like 7 Saws, I didn't think Jigsaw would die within the 3rd one. I think you would have thought actually that this would have been the end of the franchise, because Jigsaw died, Amanda died, you would have been wondering what's going to happen now. And I will get into that in the next video. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. If I had to rate this movie, by the way, I got to give it a 9.5. I think this movie is actually almost perfect, minus the flashback thing. But I think this has been the best one out of the franchise. I really liked 1. I thought that was an 8 out of 10. And then I liked 2. I thought that was an 8.5. And I like this one. Even though I've seen these before, I've never actually I haven't watched them, like I said, in 4 years. So there was a lot of scenes I actually forgot about in this movie, like Dr. Lin trying to escape, and some of the stuff like with Amanda I forgot about. So yeah, and I can't wait to watching these movies is actually hyping me up to want to watch Jigsaw, the 8th one that's coming out in theaters. I can't wait to watch that. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys and also share the video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more content, and click on the bell so that way every time you upload a video, you guys will get the notification for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers channel, and that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.